So, if you saw my video on January 1st, then you know a little bit about my story, about me having my daughter, starting the process of having a baby before I met my husband, and using a sperm donor to have her. So, so then my husband adopted her at birth and was there obviously for the delivery. We were married by then. But then came, and I chose, it's confusing, but I chose an open donor, which means one day when she's 18, she can, meet him if she wants to. And I did that intentionally because I figured if I was conceived that way, I would want that option available to me. Well, then comes the process, and I started thinking early. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to tell her this? Like, it's not a secret. I mean, my grandma knew before I started. I was picking my sperm donor. So, and I was real open about it. But this is her life, and this is her family. And I started thinking when she was a baby, I'm like, how am I going to broach this topic? And I never wanted her not to know, but I didn't want it to weigh on her as a small child. So what we ended up doing was, when she was 4 or 5, let's copyright on this, copyrighted 2012, so she was 5. So when she was, if my math is right, yes, when she was 5, we decided to write a book. She kept asking me all the time. She was obsessed. She was going through this phase when she was 4 where she was obsessed with childbirth. And she kept asking me to tell her the story about when she was in my tummy. So I would tell her, that I worked on my feet all day and I was tired. And by the time I'd come home and get in the shower, she would curl up and go to sleep in my tummy, and that she would listen to music in the car on the ride home, and she would dance around in my tummy. All of these things were true. That I ate lots of fruits and vegetables when I was pregnant with her, but I really, really liked a hot fudge milkshake, and I had way too many. But that was her favorite thing. That's what I tell people. It was really my favorite thing. But, and then, told her about having to choose names and different names that we had looked at, and who was there, right after she was born, and all those things. So she loved hearing her story. So one day on the way to daycare, and she was, oh God, I guess she was still 3. She said, Mommy, can you read me my story tonight? And I said, well, baby, it's not a book. It's just a story. And she said, well, Dr. Seuss wrote a book. And I was like, well, yeah, he did. So that was where the seed was planted to write the book about her story. And then I kind of put 2 and 2 together and thought, this is perfect. She wants to hear her story. I'm trying to plant a seed. No pun intended, because that's in the book. So, and this is probably not for children, because I may say something here about conception. Turn it off now. So we decided to write a book. So we wrote a book and we published it. It's not for sale, but we published it, called When You Were in My Tummy. And we did that on Blurb. But it's really cute. I mean, we go through and talk about all the things that I was just telling you about. So it's really sweet. It talks about how mommies, and explain to her, mommies have seeds and daddies have eggs. And when those happen to get together, we didn't go didn't tell her how they got together. She didn't ask for a few years. But when they get together, they make a baby. And so she was fine with that. That worked. And she loved reading her book and her story. And it's the sweetest book, if I do say so myself. And so anyway, last year, she just turned 12. I guess when she was 10 and a half. We were in the car and alone, just the 2 of us. And I guess I should preface this. The sperm bank that I used puts the moms together that have conceptions with that same sperm. So there's 5 other boy moms, but they didn't join the registry. But we have 11. Long story, my fault. But anyway, they know about it. So there's 11 of us. Y'all, there's always a story. So myself and 5 other moms are all in touch and all use the same donor. So all of our kids are half siblings. And one little girl's in, like Katarina's in Germany, Maddie Ray's in California, Anya is in Colorado, Catherine's in California, and Chase is in Wisconsin. So there's one boy and 4 little girls and Ava. So she's met Chase and Maddie Ray before. And she's seen pictures of the kids growing up. We would send gifts and cards and things like that. And we follow them on social media. So she knew they were her half siblings. And so finally, when she was 10 and a half, she asked, we were in the car and she goes, "Hey Mom, how are they my half siblings? Is my daddy their daddy too?" And I was like, oh, here we go. Lord, be near. And I just said, this is perfect timing. This is it. So I said, well, remember how we talked about how daddies have seeds and mommies have eggs, and when you put them together, they make a baby? And she said, yes. And I said, well, this nice man, who I do not know, was kind enough to share his seeds with all of us, all these moms from these same kids, from your half siblings. All these moms wanted babies so badly that they were willing to go on their own and do it. And so for whatever their reasons were, I know my reasons, but whatever their reasons were, and we all shared the same seeds from the same person, the same man. And so you all have the same DNA from your paternal side. And then each of you has your own mom. And so that's how you're half siblings. And she said, so that means Miles is my half sibling too. And I said, technically, yes. And then Brad's daughter, Kinley, who's older, she said, so Kinley and I aren't technically related. And I said, not technically. And she said, but Daddy, I said, no, Daddy's your daddy. Daddy's your daddy. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's just it. And she said, oh, yeah. And I said, he just didn't donate the seeds. That's all. So we sat there for a few minutes in silence. And she said, okay, so it wasn't minutes. It was probably moments, but it felt like minutes to me. And she said, so I'm the lucky one. Oh, I'm crying. And I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? And she said, because I get a mommy, a daddy, a brother, a sister, and my 5 siblings. I'm the lucky one. Didn't mean to do that. And I thought, oh, thank you God for that going well. That was 10 years of stress just poof, lifted. So now, she's very comfortable sharing that information. Last year we were at a basketball game at her school, and she's phenomenal at basketball, y'all. She may be small, but she is fierce on that court. I don't even know who she is on that court, but she played her heart out, and she played point guard, and the other team's coach came out to us and was talking to us in the crowded, concession area, and said, sorry I had to put 3 girls on you, but you are really good. Keep it up. Don't quit. Keep playing ball. And she looked at all these kids, all the siblings are athletic, and she goes, thanks. I get it from my donor. I was like, no, not at the concession stand. Not at the concession stand. So I'm glad she's proud of it, and she's comfortable with it. And we love the other kids and their moms. And my husband, bless him, is so comfortable with it, has always been good with it. And it all worked out. And I'm just so grateful that it did. But I just wanted to share that because I think it's an interesting story. And if you guys ever want to see this book, I may just post a copy of it, a digital copy for y'all to look at. I don't know, maybe you don't care, but it's our sweet little, it's our personal book that we love. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. It was a blessing in my life, and I'm so grateful for it. So you guys have a wonderful night.